So I posted a video a couple days ago about the irrationality of the idea of collective responsibility. Now, I often advertise my videos on Facebook as I have found that this draws quite a bit of engagement. And this is indeed what has happened. An absolute flood of hatred poured in from the absolute paragons of inclusivity that is the left. What I have found amusing, however, is that literally none of these hostile comments actually addressed my core contention, that individuals can only ever be held responsible for their own actions. This principle is ultimately incompatible with the notion of collective responsibility, as I previously demonstrated. Obviously, merely asserting the opposite does not disprove the arguments that I presented, and merely ignoring the arguments that I have presented does not in any way disprove them. This remains true, regardless as to whether or not I am supposedly arrogant for recognizing this fact. Now, when it comes to arrogance, however, I find that there are few examples of hubris greater than that of those who purport to possess the ability to read minds. I never once claimed that everything was about power, or that it is the only thing on earth that matters. In fact, my beliefs are the direct opposite. My creed is a creed of happiness. I recognize that happiness is self-realized, so I advocate for individual liberty. I hold that all men are equal, not with regards to ability, merit, or virtue, but rather with respect to a moral jurisdiction of one man over another, and that, understood properly, this means that no man possesses any right to rule over any other. Merely asserting the opposite, that I have, in fact, been brainwashed by late-stage capitalism to believe that power is the only thing that matters, does not make it so. What this person would need to possess in order to prove that they know what someone believes better than they is an ability to read minds. Of course, I doubt that he can actually prove that he truly possesses such an ability. Of course, this person actually ends up betraying the fact that it is in fact he who insists on the primacy of power dynamics. As to him, it seems, the supposed existence of these power dynamics is apparently a brute fact of existence. Apparently, it is impossible that someone such as myself could be entirely unmotivated by power, and any claims to the contrary constitute nothing but deception. After all, that's what someone who is purely motivated by a desire for power would say, right? I never once demanded to be in charge. All that I did in my video was present cogent arguments against the notion of collective responsibility. The only power that I truly desire is the power to ensure that those who wish to rule the lives of others are forever stripped of any power to do so. Asserting that I am ignorant for refusing to accept a straw man of my philosophical positions does not refute my arguments pertaining to collective responsibility, and reiterating the insistence that I must desire dictatorship due to my expressed desire for liberty does not make it so. This last comment is particularly bizarre, as I had made no claims whatsoever about natural roles, order, or enforcing such. It seems, however, that there is no shortage of like-minded lemmings in the comments, as similar accusations continue to roll in. All that this man has done here is display his bigotry, insisting that I'm advocating for oppression, subjugation, and enslavement does not make it so. One would have to actually demonstrate that such is what I am arguing for, rather than simply insisting that it is true. I am not a fascist, neither am I a white supremacist. Lies and slander are a poor substitute for the truth, and one betrays their intellectual dishonesty and their lack of moral fiber when they resort to such. To be clear, my video had nothing to do with Donald Trump, so it seems rather strange that the man is such a fixture in these people's minds that they must assume that anyone who disagrees with them must worship the man. I personally am not a fan of his, so this is just another in a long list of misattributions. Also, I never expressed any sadness for this person, so it really seems that he needs to get back on his meds. The only mildly interesting thing that he says is that he points out that my logo is an armor of war. The animating struggle for liberty is the only truly holy war in history, and there is nothing ignoble about fighting for life, as it should and ought to be. In truth, such is the only reason why anyone should fight. While this comment was nothing more than an example of sheer prejudice, and while it is clear that the commenter did not even bother to watch my video or consider my arguments, I'll give him kudos for eloquence. The same cannot be said for the rest of these fools, however, as they set themselves to work posting absolutely irrelevant nonsense that has nothing to do with the topic of the video, insults, conspiracy theories about stage design, irrelevant assertions about anarchy, or claiming that I must in fact be a fundamentalist Christian. It is rather clear to me that they're not sending their best. Indeed, it would seem that they didn't even bother to consider the arguments that I had presented, which makes this particular comment rather ironic. Merely asserting that your opposition is intellectually dishonest, without actually demonstrating that to be the case, is itself intellectual dishonesty, and it is indeed hypocritical to claim to oppose collective blame whilst engaging in it. If it is wrong for right-wingers to engage in collective blame, then it is just as wrong for leftists to do so, and attempting to characterize the views of some based upon your own misapprehensions of the views of others does not in fact demonstrate that the former actually possess the characteristics of the latter. No, it is not wise to take the blame of others whom one has nothing to do with, and I did not, in fact, make excuses for the actions of these imagined individuals to whom this person refers. I will only take responsibility for that which I have actually done, and all that I have done is present arguments for why the notion of collective responsibility is an irrational one.